How's it, everyone? This is Lolcohol, and in today's video we're going to be crafting some Int Stacker boot. There's a couple of different variations of this boot, but in today's video we're going to be going for the one with the Abyssal Socket. If you're interested in seeing the one with the Hunter Elder implements, let me know and I can do that. But for this boot, the suffixes we're looking for are has an Abyssal Socket, which comes from a hollow fossil. Then we're looking for tier 1 int, and then benched, chance to avoid elemental ailments. Then on our prefixes, we're looking for movement speed and high energy shields. I've done these a couple of times just as like a profit craft, so I'm going to show you the method I've done. I'm not even 100% sure if it's like the best method, but to get started, what we have are these. These are item level 84 warlock boots with 25% quality, unsplit. I'm going to show you some cool tricks in this video with like orbs of remembrance and the new orbs of unraveling, just to explain some of these mechanics. So first thing we want to do, we're going to want to split some bases. So I'm going to use some sacred orbs to get this thing to 100% base percentile. We could even go for 82. Let's see if we can get this one to 83, 81, 85, 72. Rip. I might have a couple. I'm doing this for my friend Niku. 83, cool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to split these almost, but there's first one other thing we want to do. So I'm going to be wanting to do some orb of unraveling stuff. I'll explain this as we get to it, but the first thing we need to do is we're going to apply memory influence to these. If you can get a pair of boots with over quality and the right item level and memory strands, that's great, but that's very hard. So these things cost about 7 divines. What it's going to do is randomize the number of memory strands on a normal equipment item. So let's do this guy over here and hope we get some 6. Come on. And 34. So let's stick with this one for now. Let's craft these pairs of boots. We'll keep this as a backup. Now the next thing is I'm going to want to split this. And in order to split this, we need 6 modifiers on it. So how do we get this thing rare? If we use an alchemy, it's going to consume some of the memory strands. If we use essences, same thing. Can't use fossils. So what we do, go to the crafting bench. What we're going to do is reroll the rarity. And this will make it magic rare, hopefully not unique. I don't even know there's unique boots. And we're looking for 6 modifiers. So we got lucky. We got 6 modifiers. If we didn't, I'll just pretend we didn't. What we do is use the Haughty crafting station. This doesn't consume the memory strands, so we can just reforge until we get 5 mods or 6 mods. In this case, 5. Bench on a 6th mod, and then we're heading off to the menagerie to split our little boots. So now what we want to do, we're going to use a combo of Phenomenal Plagued Arachnid and the Black Morrigan, and we're going to put in our boots and we split it into 3 items with 2 mods on each item. So we're going to have 3 pairs of boots with memory strands and over quality, and let's do it. So there we go. Memory strands, over quality, they're all magic rarity. So the next thing is we need to use a fossil combo to get the hollow fossil, the Abyssal Socket on these, but these boots need to be rare in order to do that. So your first instinct might be just regal it, but again, that's going to consume memory strands. So what we're going to do is just reroll rarity until these things are rare, like that. That does not consume any of the memory strands. There we go, rare. And same thing over here. There we go, all rare. Now the next step. So what we're going for in this step is we're trying to get an Abyssal Socket and then also a decently high tier of intelligence so that when we go for the fracture, we have a 50-50. The reason we have these memory strands is because of this orb of unraveling. This will consume all memory strands on the item in an attempt to upgrade the tier of the modifier. So these things are also quite expensive, but so are hollow fossils. Hollow fossils, they're sitting at about 2 divines each. So rather, instead of spamming a whole lot of fossils, very expensive fossils, to try and get tier 1 int before we fracture, that's why we've gone for these memory strands and this combo. So the combo is corroded. This cuts out elemental suffixes. Sanctified, numeric modifier values are lucky. High level modifiers are more common. I'm not 100% sure about this. We could instead use dense or something. Then the other thing is fundamental to give us more attribute modifiers, no critical modifiers, and then hollow fossil for the Abyssal Socket. So let's pop these guys in. And what we're looking for, like I said, is decently high int, like tier 3, and then that hollow Abyssal Socket, which is guaranteed. So each of these attempts, I think, is about 2.5, 3 divines. So let's see if we can get it. There we got 22 intelligence, tier 7. It's about a 1 in 3, 1 in 4 to at least get tier 2 intelligence. So that's tier 3. I think that's one that we can probably keep. Let's see, that's tier 4. I'm not going to keep tier 4. No intelligence. Very low intelligence. Low intelligence. The annoying thing on Crafts of Exile is that you can't do calculations with these special fossils. So you have to like do manual simulations to see which method is actually best. That is tier 4. No int. I'm kind of tempted, instead of Sanctified, to use Dense. Dense cuts out a life regen suffix, and it also gives us a chance to get an energy shield prefix, which could be another good fracture target. So on this one, let's try Dense. All right, that one, that's an epic fail, tier 5. Luckily, we have more, but so far, not so great. Let's not give up on the Sanctified yet. 19. I don't trust Sanctified. Those things have always felt like a scam to me. There is tier 2 int. I mean tier 2%. No int. Low tier int. And tier 3 int. So let's see what we can do in this guy. So what we want to do now is we actually want to reduce the number of modifiers that these boots have. So I'm going to apply red influence. And then I have Eldritch Annuls, which will annul off a prefix if my Exarch is dominant. So now the question is, do we want to try and annul off that life regen or not? If we have fewer mods, I think we have a higher chance of elevating the tiers of the modifiers with the Unravelling. What I'm worried about here is that life regen is going to eat up all of our memory strands. So let's just see. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Damn it. All right, well, this is an epic fail so far, but don't worry. We can try again. Like I said, you could even just go for a single hollow fossil, and then you've got the 1 in 4. I don't love that, but let's give it another try. What is nice about making YouTube videos is I'm sure there will be plenty of people correcting me, saying you should have done it like this. You should have done it like this. So if you've got a better fossil combo or a better method for this, do let me know. But yeah, this is how I have been doing it, and it has actually been profitable. Let's try some Sanctified and some Dense, and then this. All right. These things are not even rolling int at this point. 42 int. That's again one that we could keep. In this case, I think we just go for let's just go for a normal annul. Try and get rid of that. We're trying to get rid of the stun and block recovery, which we did. This one could be a decent unraveling attempt because it could elevate the energy shield or the int, both of which are valuable. Let's give it a shot. Let's see if either of those elevate. That's a pretty good one. Let's see. And we got tier 1 and tier 2. I think this one's like a decent one to go for on the fraction. Now it's got like 3 good mods, so just gonna hit it with like 2 divines. We got another one, and then we got very low intelligence. I think we're getting a little bit unlucky. I did the test. It looked like a 1 in 3 to at least get like a decently high tier of int, but we are not getting lucky. So pivot time. We've got this, and we could go for a fracture on this. So I think what we do is, it doesn't matter. We could slam something. Doesn't matter what we slam. Life regen, that doesn't suck. But this thing now at least has 3 decent targets. So we actually, the only thing we want is that Abyssal Socket. But if we fail, we've at least got some other good stuff. So there we go. We got the tier 1 int, which like a tier 1 ES, which like I said, we don't really want. But this is still like a 50 divine sale. So that's why we did all of that stuff with the memory threads, because these things, these fracturing orbs are like 9 divines right now. So we failed, but we did like a successful fail where now we have like a 50 divine item that kind of offsets a lot of the expenses of the craft. So there's 50 divines right there. Then what we can do is just let's grab some more fossils and stuff and see what we can get. I'm gonna go with the 3-1. I thoroughly do not trust Sanctified anymore. There is that one. This one's another good target. So it's got the tier 5 intelligence, not great, but it does have tier 1 energy shield. So what we can do is, I think in this case, just annul it. And we lost that. We need to get rid of one more modifier. And we lost the int. This is still like a decent 50-50. Nico, I'm going to use your divine. Let's try to get that percent ES higher. There we go. 100%. Another great fracture target. Let's see if we can get it. And we got it. Okay. So the whole thing with the Orbs of Unravelling, from what I've done in the past and the maths that I did, it generally turns out to be way more profitable because, like I said, at least when we fail and we've got a pair of 50 divine boots. So next step is we're going to spam Essence of Woe on these until we get percent energy shield tier 1 and an empty prefix. So this is giving us pseudo tier 1 flat. Next step is just going to be using these woes until we get a high percent energy shield, which is about a 1 in 40 with woes. We could use dents, but dents are very expensive. So this is much cheaper. There's tier 2. If you want to settle, you could. There. Oh, wow. Okay. Amazing prefixes, but we need movement speed. There are actually people who would use this. I know there's some people who do not care about movement speed. They're playing like Wintry Blast and stuff, so they don't even use their feet. But this is apparently 100 divines so far. But for us, we need to annul off one of those mods. So we're looking to annul off the hybrid, which we have failed. So we keep going. That's the kind of thing you could maybe stop and sell, but that would take all day. There we go. There again is the energy shield, tier 1, perfectly rolled. Annul off the mana. The reason we're using normal annuls is we don't care about our suffixes. Okay, this is perfect. So now what we want to do, and we're going to grab some Veiled Chaos. This is to get our movement speed. So we're going to go, prefixes cannot be changed. 2 divines, can't use Wild Bristle Matron. It could add on some other crap. And then we're going to Veiled Chaos and hoping for a Veiled Prefix, which we failed. This is a little bit risky because it could add on a random prefix and then a Veiled Suffix. But in this case, it's actually okay. So let's just unveil that. Doesn't matter what it is. We're going to get rid of it. And then we've got full suffixes. So in this case, what we want to do is we're going to make this one greater, our blue, and then we can at least annul off a suffix. Doesn't matter. And then we go again. Prefixes cannot be changed. Veiled Chaos. And we got the Veiled Prefix. Now, we can't block anything, but we still have I think it's like a 99% chance to unveil movement speed. Movement speed, there we go. This one is actually brilliant. Movement speed and onslaught. There we go. Abyss Socket, prefixes are done. Now the next step is to just do our suffixes. In order to do our suffixes, we can use these. Our friend Nico, he bought us. Oh, we're using Eldritch Exalts. Fancy. So what we're going to do now is we are going to block, slam, block, slam, block, slam. The thing with the highest weight is just any resistance, but you could also block energy shield recharge. So you could block this if you do want to get a resistance, block that. But in this case, we're trying to hit tier 1 intelligence. So we want to block the thing with the highest weight. So that's going to be just fire resistance like that. We're going to also, on our regex, add remove crafted mods like that. And let's make sure our Eater of Worlds is dominant. So any of these currencies that we use on it will affect the suffixes. And let's just do it. We block and then slam. Chaos Res, remove crafted mods, annul, and then fire res and slam. Remove crafted mods, annul, block fire res, slam. Tier 6 intelligence, don't want that. Remove crafted mods, annul. And we just do this over and over and over until we get that tier 1 int, which I think, forget exactly what the weight of it is. I know it's 1,000 out of like, I think it's about a 1 in 40, I believe, to hit. So tier 2 intelligence. Now, there are so many people, actually not so many people, there was one guy who says he doesn't like it when I settle. So, all right, let's keep going. In this case, we can go for the tier 1 int, at least. Occasionally, I will settle because I don't want to have to restart the craft like halfway through and then have to like re-record from the beginning. But in this case, we can go for the tier 1 int. Unless if I hit tier 2 again, I might just stick with it. But we'll see. Tier 4 int. There we go. Tier 1 int. Perfectly rolled as well. So last thing is just we need to do our implicits still, but I think a lot of people, what they do is they go for ailment, chance to avoid ailments, which is a suffix on boots. There we go. And now the implicits. So my friend Nico did not provide me with any Eta Exarch things. How dare you? So he's going to get cheap Icors. So what we're looking for is we're looking for a chance to avoid elemental ailments. And then I think the other thing is movement speed or action speed. I'm going to get some of the fancy ones. There we go. Chance to avoid ailments, 23%. And then we're going to go for either action speed or movement speed. Either of those is good. I presume action speed is better. But I have sold these in the past with movement speed. So there we go. Movement speed. Could possibly roll for action speed, which is better. And then let's just add on more links. So here's our boots. Could be divined a little bit better, but they have 305 energy shields, tier 1 int, very good movement speed, and onslaught on kill, which is great, and then chance to avoid ailments. And then the Abyssal Socket, don't forget that. So let's give this guy a little bit of a price check. So we have 300, since it's like a nice breakpoint, we can put that in. And then this is our tier 1 int. Then we go movement speed. I'm gonna just put this down to 25 and then the Abyssal Socket. As you can see, 125 divines, 130 divines. Let's see if the onslaught actually affects it at all, because this is maybe a higher value thing. So 125, 150. Let's take a look at the trade site. Here are very similar ones, very, very similar. 125, 150. These have the open suffix, all attributes, res. That's why having the open suffix at the end is nice, because it allows you the flexibility to do your res or attributes or suppression or chance to avoid ailments, whatever you prefer. So these are our boots. Let me know what you think of this method. I'm not 1,000,000% sure about the unravelings, because there's, look, if you end up with a third suffix, then you can get a little bit screwed over with trying to annul it off. But with the price of these holofossils being like 2 divines each, my camera keeps going away. It at least to me made sense when I wrote down all the maths and did the calculations to see. So I'm not 100% sure what we spent, but we've got these pairs of boots, which should sell for about 50 divines just with the fracture. And then we got these over here, which these, I've sold ones like this for like 120, 130 divines fairly regularly. So let me know. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Stay safe. If you have any suggestions about how to do this craft a little bit better, do let me know. I'm sure there are some of you out there. But that's going to be it. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Catch you in the next video, and bye-bye.